I've not seen any evidence to suggest that a virus is a real thing. So we're told that a virus is this submicroscopic. It's not even a living organism. It's like a piece of genetic material enclosed in a protein coat that, when exposed to a human being, makes its way through their respiratory tract, gets inside a cell, gains entry into a cell, and then hijacks that cell to basically replicate itself. And by replicating, it creates such a great number of viruses that they start to cause the cells that they're inside to explode. You get tissue death and you experience symptoms. That's essentially the story that we're told. So you should be able to observe these viral particles. You should be able to see them in the bodily fluids of a sick person. Yet no one's ever observed one. No one has ever seen a virus inside a human being or in the bodily fluids of a sick person. The only place a so-called virus particle has been observed is in a laboratory after a certain series of processes have been undertaken, which is collectively known as a cell culture. So scientists must follow basically a recipe that, when followed, will create things that they then observe and call viruses. But that's a problem, because you need to see the virus in nature first to know that that's the virus. You can't create it in the lab and then say, well, this is the virus that's in that sick person. You need a reference standard. They've never done that. So it's kind of like, a baker saying to you, Leigh, chocolate cakes exist in nature. And when people eat chocolate cakes, when they're out there swinging from the trees and burrowing into the ground, when people catch those chocolate cakes and eat them, they get sick. Their blood sugar goes up and they eventually get diabetes, and this is the cause of the problem. So you got to be careful of those chocolate cakes in nature, and all this rampant disease that we're seeing is a consequence of chocolate cakes. It's like, okay, well, Mr. Baker, can you show me a chocolate cake in nature? You said it swings from the trees. You said it burrows into the cave or whatever else. Can you show me one? Oh, no, we can't show you one. Why not? There's not enough of them. So how do you know that they're out there doing what they're doing? Well, that's because if you step into my kitchen and I mix this flour with a couple of eggs and a bit of milk, and I put some chocolate powder in there, and I put it in a bowl, and I mix it, and I put it into the oven and set it at 200 degrees for 45 minutes. I don't know. I'm not a pastry chef. Maybe 200 degrees is too high. Maybe 180. And then I take it out. Well, here's the chocolate cake. So they do exist in nature. If a baker said that to you, you'd think he's nuts. Right? You would think they're absolutely nuts. You would say, no, I want to see the chocolate cake in nature. No, I can only show it to you when I create it in the kitchen. Like, you can't use that creation as evidence that it exists in reality, in nature. It's not a naturally occurring thing. This is what's happening in the field of virology. They can only show you a particle in a cell culture after they've done a certain series of steps, and then they start to make claims about that particle, yet they've never then isolated a pure sample of that particle and exposed it to a healthy individual and observed the effect that it has. They've never done that. What they do is they take that, like, whole cell culture, the fluid of it, which contains all kinds of stuff, and then they inject it into people. Or they squirt the solution up their nose and they start getting a runny nose, and they say, see, there was a virus in that cell culture fluid and it made you sick. So that's the proof that they're basically relying upon to demonstrate that viruses cause illness. But again, there's many issues with this. One is that you can take cell culture material that has not been infected with a virus. So when I'm talking about a cell culture, I mean you've got some animal cells, usually abnormal monkey kidney cells, and you add antibiotics and baby cow blood and a whole bunch of other stuff to it. And then you add an infected patient's mucus sample to it. And supposedly that allows the virus to grow in those cells to create enough virus so then you can use it in an experiment. They've done experiments where they've done the whole process. They've added everything in except the infected patient's mucus sample and inoculated people with that fluid, and they've gotten sick. So they've observed the same effect from the uninoculated culture fluid as they did in the inoculated culture fluid. But they want to claim that the reason the person got sick from the inoculated culture fluid is because of a virus. They also say that when those monkey kidney cells in that petri dish in the cell culture die, they call that a cytopathic effect. And that when that cytopathic effect occurs, it's evidence of the virus destroying the cells. However, they've also done experiments where they don't add in any virus to that cell culture. They treat it exactly the same as the so-called inoculated cell culture, and you still get cytopathic effects. So a cytopathic effect is not unique to a virus. Experiencing symptoms after being inoculated with the cell culture fluid does not constitute evidence of a virus. And how do we know this? Because there is evidence in control experiments that demonstrate that it is the methodology and the procedures and the ingredients that are being used in these experiments which are causing the effects that they are looking for. No virus required. So when you start to understand all of this, you go, well, where is the proof of a virus? And it just isn't there. You can't find it.
Thanks for watching this video. And if you want to catch the entire episode, head on over to the Radical Health Rebel podcast, where you can subscribe by scanning the QR code on the screen.